RC Underground Radio.
Yes, I realize I look like an idiot with this mustache, and I'm okay with it.
The ultimate podcast that covers everything RC.
You don't need to cut anything either. You can just call this the raw, uncut episode. We can leave it at that.
The raw. Yeah.
Are you drinking dollar store soda again? Quit spending your money on RC stuff. You can buy some name brand soda.
RC Underground Radio is your backstage pass to the RC industry. With insiders that are shaping the future of the hobby. The future of the hobby.
When we bring this guest on, I guarantee people are going to go, are you kidding me? He wrote a song for you.
I did.
We're going to have to end this soon, huh?
Yeah, no shit. And we're going to have to edit this.
So, here are your hosts, Dave Brinkman and Ryan Ratzloff.
Okay, it's time for another week of RC Underground Radio. I got my co-host, Ryan, the talent Ratzloff. Ryan, welcome to the show, buddy.
I don't know about talent, but hey, it's great to be back and here for another week of RC Underground Radio. So I'm ready to get started, man.
Oh, we need to get ready because we got a guest who's going to tell us the whole story, right? There's one guy out there who's near and dear to everybody in the RC world. And this is perfect because this is the week of Mother's Day, right? Mm-hmm. So we need a key woman on our show, and we couldn't have got one any better than Rhonda Peacock. Rhonda, we want to welcome you to the show. Welcome to the RC.
But I'm not his mother. I'm not his mother.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Very true. But you'll be able to give us a woman's perspective, and we've got some questions around that. Around a woman's perspective of the hobby. So I got to start the first one, and I'm going to let Ryan roll. How did you meet this guy? And where did you meet this guy?
We actually met when I was 12 and he was 6. I'm about five and a half years older than him. And in a town called Pacifica, just south of San Francisco on the coast, his family and our family went to a very small church, and everybody there essentially became extended family. So I knew Ron as one of, at the time, 3 brothers. He was the middle brother. All of those brothers I thought were really cute, but they honestly were 4, 5, and 6 years younger than me. And I actually at the time was a Sunday school teacher. I used to play the piano at the church, and I kind of remember that he used to come up and sit on the front pew so that he could sit next to me afterwards. So he says. That makes a good story anyway. So our lives, I graduated from high school and went off to college, and he stayed there and really did not have any contact with him for many years. Came back. I remember him letting me use his El Camino car. He had an El Camino car that he was really proud of. And so I drove that. And so he was just a person of my past that I had fond feelings toward, like I did his whole family, who were kind of leaders in the church and an extra family to me. So moving fast forward many, many years, we had a church reunion, and Ron was there with his wife at the time that was dying of cancer, and he was busy taking care of her, and he just gave me a big old warm hug and said, glad to see you, and I had a lot of compassion for his situation. I was in a difficult situation also, and so we just greeted each other and kind of kept in contact. Well, his wife passed, and my difficult relationship husband, we separated and divorced, and so time passed, and so out of the blue he called me, and we just began to talk as friends. And Ron is an easy guy to talk to, and I was so impressed by him that he he was a man of his word. He was a man of integrity and a man of his word. And I remember as we began to, he saw me and then we went out and then, I don't know, I just sensed that there was something special developing. And so because I was a single mom of 2 kids, I said to him, what is your intentions? What is your intentions? Because I'm not really interested I'm busy. And so he said, I want to have a relationship with you. And I thought, whoa. And so we did. And we actually dated for a fairly short period of time. We married after about 4 or 5 months because in a sense we knew each other. We knew each other's backgrounds. But a lot had happened in between also. So that's basically the story.
Yeah, it's like when you know, right?
Yeah,
There's no timeline to how long that relationship has to be before you officially get married. There's no rule on that. So yeah, I'm a big believer. When you know, you know.
No doubt about it. Rhonda, it is an interesting story, and I want to touch on a few key points, I think, as they relate to kind of the RC world. But Mother's Day is coming up this Sunday. And we look at Ron as kind of like the Don Corleone of RC. He's that. So to you, you'd be really like Camilla Corleone. So it is, you're kind of the mama of not only One RC, but this whole community that we had. So, one of the things that you talked about in your story with Ron was he's a man of his word. He has very high integrity, and it's not funny to hear you say that because he's that same way when, he's selling RC cars. There's some stories of, Charlie Kuzma and a bad motor and Ron overnighted one from California to Florida. Because he just felt bad, genuinely felt bad. And that goes so much into what you were saying, right? He's definitely a man of his word. And that's so very important in a relationship, and then the other thing that I thought, that resonated with me is that he is very easy to talk to, right? I mean, we've had him on the show multiple times, and he talks Dave and I and Charlie and others, and he's just he's so easy to talk to and so encouraging, even in a very low point, right? He's still very positive, and gives us all that motivation, I guess, that we need. And then the other thing that really resonated with me was, I'm a little bit younger and I call it shooting the shot. He was not afraid to say, I want to have a relationship. His Ron to a T, like he gets it out there. So I think that's, it's so cool you telling that story because, everything I'm like, yep, that's Ron. And every time that I've dealt with him, I've got a question. Ron has a passion for RC. How did this all start? Was this before you guys got in a relationship, or was this after and he just started coming home with cars? I mean, what were your thoughts on all of that?
Actually, let me share with you because I think it's a funny story. So I knew nothing about cars. Ron really was on a race team and was helping weekends and was doing all of that. And he just decided that was taking too much away from us as newly married people and new family. And but I thought, well, I want to go to see a sprint car race. and that's what he was working on. So we went to a place called Petaluma, which is in Northern California. And it's just such a lovely family park. And, there's these huge balls that the people, you could tell people of all nationalities, people of all places in life were just sitting there enjoying these races. And then I remember seeing a sprint car fly over the wall. And I thought, oh, he's dead. No, he was just fine. And so I was really enthralled. Well, yeah. It's a good thing he took me to Petaluma and to Chico first, because then he said, well, you have to go to where my uncle used to race. So he took me to Antioch. And so as we pull up, and started walking toward the stands, they had splattered all kinds of water all over the dirt. And so as we were walking in, they had begun to race, and we were covered with splots of mud and crap.
Sounds like a great
stuff,
date night. Sounds like a great
I was really not happy at all. And I thought, what a smart man to take me to those other two races first. And I don't think and I know I never went back to that track. Ron, when I retired and then we were going to move to Madeira, our pastor actually said, I have this car, and he knew how much Ron liked cars. I have this RC car that I never use. Why don't you just take it with you? And so I thought, well, that's interesting, because Ron didn't have the ability to work on cars really anymore. And at that point, about 6 years ago. And so little did I know, he did not have an RC car until about 6 years ago. But how all of this would blossom.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, I think at one point he was up over 300 cars. I mean, he's got, an entire room dedicated to it.
Absolutely.
In his man cave. Did you ever get worried about that? Did you ever say, Ron, I think you've got a bit of a problem here?
Oh, we have, knowing Ron, he gets a passion. He's had a passion for a lot of things, and then it's kind of gone by the wayside, and he's moved on to something else. And so, of course, and he's these are all, I think it's probably fair to say that this is extensions of his life. Every single one of those cars that he's made, it's an extension of his life and his creative ability. And though I don't understand it at all, I really respect the fact that, he started from one little car that was given to him. And then much like Ron, he has to find out how to take it apart and put it back together. And he reached out to people locally, and suddenly, it has really blossomed into something that I never would have dreamed. Probably him either.
No doubt.
No doubt. I mean, that's so interesting. This is so fun to get this other perspective, isn't it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I'm just enjoying this. So, that you basically laid out, Ron's impact on the hobby, and we've talked about it many times, but how about the hobby's impact on him? Like, he stepped out after he got things going, and he had said, hey, did you hear that, Austin's having a race in my name? And there's been, Chieflin has had a race in his name. We're having a race in his name. Everybody honors him. And what are some of kind of behind the scenes of how he's shared with you, how that's, how the hobby has impacted him?
I think that it has truly given him a way to express his abilities and gifts. And, when you can't physically work on cars, this is such an accessible habit. It does become more expensive, but it still is a reasonably cost. What is the word? The cost is not prohibitive, and it's been a way, like I said, every single one of his cars are his creation. And so the impact on him is that he's felt very respected by you all, the people in the community, that other people appreciate his gifts and abilities in being able to create cars and then talking to people and networking. Part of his job was as an insurance investigator all day, every day. He talked to people across the United States, and he really missed that. He really missed the ability to be able to be the great communicator and know people and talk to people. And, I think that the RC community has given him back the ability to be able to talk to people all over the place. He loves that. And it really has given him a purpose that I don't know what else would have at this point in his life.
Very well said.
Yep. I think that definitely keeps him going for sure. Is a lot of the connections that he's made through, pieces of plastic. He and I have had some great conversations, and it always goes back down to those little RC cars that got us, that created our friendship, and kind of this whole thing just morphed, and it's just really neat to see the smile on Ron's face when we're talking RC cars, and and some of the things that he's been transacting with, and now with everything kind of transitioning to Austin Wentworth at One RC Garage, and Ron's still a very integral part of that as well. It's just neat to see, and I think too, for what helps me, I don't know, get some peace, or is like Ron's kind of legacy, right? Is now in the hands of Austin, and who's doing a fantastic job with it. It's like, it's so crazy how Austin was brought into his life, and they made that connection, and Austin felt compelled, like, he was being told, I have to take this over. So just a really awesome series of events, right? I don't think you can, ask for anything better than that.
Can I ask you all a question? See, I am really on the outside. I mean, I see Ron's man cave filled to the gills worth of cars, and then he will give 30 away to the church for, or he will give, or Austin has bought a bunch. But, they continue to get big. He continues on his time schedule continues to work on cars. Why don't you tell me what impact you think Ron has had on the world of RC? I don't know. I think it's pretty awesome that he has races that are named after him, but I don't have any concept of his significance from your perspective.
Dave?
I mean, we could do a 2-hour show on that, right? He's had a significant impact on all of us who are racers, no doubt about that. But Ryan, you said it best. I'm just going to paraphrase. You said One RC, which is the smaller cars that Ron predominantly focuses on. One RC would not be what it is today, and it's one of the hottest. And we're not talking like a 6 month it was hot, a come or go, or like for years now. There's like 3 years plus that One RC would not be is important or what's the word, Ryan? I'm losing my word here.
As strong, in the sport as it is today.
Yeah, he literally transfixed that industry of that car. Like it was, and honestly, like, because not everybody can. They're not super expensive cars to begin with to get them new, but there's some things you can do to the cars, and then that adds up a little bit. But Ron would get these cars secondhand. He would do his magic to them, make them way more valuable than they could ever be, but yet sold them at a very affordable price. And so that was the entry point. It was already an entry point type of class or form of the hobby, but then Ron made it even more entry. And then, just as we talk about, his ethics, right? You knew you could buy from Ron. I'm a guy who bought a car from a guy, and he stiffed me. I sent him money, and I never got a race car. With Ron, you never have to worry about that, right? So there's people in all forms of hobbies, right? Buy the stuff and then go, I don't have time for it. It's not really what I wanted. And then they sell it for pennies on the dollar. Well, Ron would get that car, make it better than it was, but then put it out there for less than what it's worth. And but his goal was to get more people in the hobby, and he did that, and he literally put One RC on the map.
Yeah,
wow.
That's the honest truth, Rhonda. Again, took a car, bought it from somebody who may have lost interest, repaired it, fixed it, made it better, and then sold it at an affordable price. There's so much that goes on nowadays where, you buy things online, especially through Facebook, and that's Ron's one and only way of selling these cars. There's so many people that are dishonest and stiff people. And Ron would never do that. Ron has been, we'll call it stiffed, or, he's given out a car without even collecting money, because that's how much of a trusting person he is. And he's gotten burned a few times and he's recouped it. He has a great network of people per se. And
I heard it. I heard about that. That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah. But so Ron's impact is one of, he's doing something that he genuinely loves, to your point. Taking something apart, putting it back together, figuring out how it works, making it better, and then giving it to someone, selling it at a reasonable price, right? And doing it with integrity. And that's what has changed, the 1RC community, because, while these cars, they retail for $209, let's say, you get one and you want another one, or you want a different class or things like that. And, some tracks have, set amount of cars that they run, maybe it's a dirt late model or a silver crown or something like that. And maybe you just want to try a midget. Well, you could go onto Ron's Facebook page. He'd definitely have one for sale, or you could reach out to him and here you go for $150 shipped. You could save $60 and get a car that's probably even better than the one you would have pulled out of the box. So that's really what Ron has done to the 1RC community. I know he's sold some bigger cars and so on and so forth, but 1RC was really his focus. And there's not a bad thing anyone could say about Ron Peacock and when they've, transacted with him. And even people who have not bought cars from him have great things to say, because they'll message him for advice or call him and say, hey, you have any ideas on this? And he would just give it up. He would say, well, this is what I would do, and so on and so forth. And, the impact that he's had has been phenomenal, and it goes just beyond the 1RC. So, we had Ron on, over a year ago now, and Ron was able to tell a story, and it changed a lot of people. I've had so many people reach out to me and say, wow, that was phenomenal. And I know Ron has too. So he's touched a lot more than just people in the little 1RC community that we have. It goes well beyond that. So he's leaving his mark on people that like to play with toy cars and beyond as well.
Who knew? So, who knew that it would get to be? Something like one little car that his pastor gave him became such a significant. And so what I hear you saying, and I don't mean to take over the conversation, but what I hear you saying is that because he's so ethical and goes above and beyond, that perhaps that influence has affected other people within your industry or within the RC car world.
Absolutely. And Rhonda, the other point to that is through the friendships that he's made in selling cars and buying cars from people, right? He's able to create friendships. And through those friendships, Ron has really been able to impact their lives, right? And in a lot of ways, have a good friend that was in a bit of a dark place. And, Ron does his prayer every morning, right? And sends it out to a big group of all of us. And I said, add this guy. And he did. And it's really made a significant impact on his life. So Ron, works through the word as well to help people. And he's always there to pick up the phone, and answer and really help people that are going through a difficult time. And it may not even be as difficult as some of the stuff Ron's dealing with. He still takes the time to help. And, that's the biggest impact that he's made on a lot of people's lives.
Yeah, I would add to that, and it kind of blends in with Ryan, where Ryan is on that, is that as big as the racing is, it's his faith that's really the big impact, right?
Yeah.
Sending that devotional every day. I've told him several times, like, how did you know? Were you bugging my house that I needed to hear that? That was the message that I needed today to keep my head up, keep my shoulders high, And I know, Ryan, we've talked about before, and you're like, can you believe that one today? Like, it's, it's amazing. And a lot of racers that maybe didn't even know what their faith was or if they had faith. And now, there's several of them that are on that daily devotional and reach back out to Ron, hey, thanks. That's nice. I needed that today,
Nice.
It's so interesting that you told the story that his very first RC car was from his pastor, because if you really look at this hobby is Ron's ministry.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. So that just that it started the way that you said literally gave me chills. I'm like, yeah, now it all makes sense.
Plus the pastor passed on the baton of something that he had lost interest in and that Ron took over. I'm a firm believer that God has a plan and a purpose for our lives, and we need to stop and listen and consider that. And I think that Ron, more than any other time in his life, has more time now to stop and listen and think and be real thoughtful and be very intentional with what he has in the remaining days of his life. And, I think that that's not a bad thing in some ways, to know that your time is limited, so you want to make it count. And so what you do with your time and your energy, obviously what he's done has been very, very meaningful and has impacted people's lives in a much more profound way other than just, the RC cars. And thank you for sharing that.
Folks, are you looking to gain a 10th on the racetrack, or maybe get a few ladies like Taylor Swift in your pit stall? Well, I'm sorry to say that Carpies can't work miracles in those departments. But here's the good news. The folks at Carpies can definitely help you become the ultimate toy car nerd, just like me. How, you ask? Well, with their custom wraps and killer collection of official RC branded merch. So while they can't promise to shave a 10th off your lap time, they can save you 10% on your next order with promo code RCU10 upon checkout at carpies.com, CARPYS.com. Wrapping winners since 2013.
Papa Willie's Traction Tonic has been curing poor traction since 2016. The name says it all. If you're not popping wheelies, it's not Papa Willie's. Papa Willie's has become known across the United States on dirt oval to off-road, asphalt to concrete, carpet to hardwood, and so many other surfaces. Papa Willie's continues adding to their lineup with tonics for cold and hot weather, loose dirt to high traction, dry dirt, wet dirt, clay and abrasive surfaces, along with anti-drag bearing oil, tire cleaner, tire glue, pit accessories, and swag. You can find the complete Papa Willie's catalog at www.papawillies.net. Prepare for victory with Papa Willie's Traction Tonic.
Be sure to use promo code RCUR for 10% off your next purchase at Papa Willie's. And above all of that, it's he so glorifies you. Like you are.
Nice.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that Ron and I have had our major challenges. If anybody out there has ever been in a blended family, it is extraordinarily difficult. And we have had lots and lots and lots of challenges. But I think that we've done a couple of things that's kept our marriage together. First of all, that, like you said, I have never had the fear that Ron was going to speak behind my back or say something negative about me in person. He might in private, but never in person. And that level of respect means everything. I think means a lot. Ron and I we've always been able to work together for in a purpose, for a purpose within the church and without out the church. We worked with developmentally disabled adults for a long time. Worked together doing that, and we've worked in recovery ministries together, and so that's been kind of glue that for us God brought us together to do, and so having that one purpose. But it's also, RC cars are not my thing. I mean, I don't build RC cars and race with him. And yet the beautiful thing, I think, is that he allows me my interests. He allows me my joys and is a cheerleader for me in what I do for my life as I do for him. And I think that as married couples, you don't have to do everything together. It's healthy to have divergent interests, but it's all about the respect and love. And I appreciate the opportunity today to be able to hear and to share about Ron.
Yeah. So the question I got to ask is he really that funny at home? Because when we have him on the show, I don't know if he's practicing, if he's taking other people's jokes, but the guy's funny. And he got me good. He got me good on the last show.
Yeah.
He kind of got us both, Ryan, before you jumped on. I wish I was recording. He said, Dave, I got to tell you, I like that Ryan guy, but you're tops, man. You're tops. And he said, oh, yeah, and by the way, I talked to Ryan yesterday, and I told Ryan, you're tops. Yeah, not that Dave guy. He's always going to get you. He's always, right? What do you think? Oh, gee, thanks, Ryan. Yeah. Oh, okay, Ryan, I got you. You set me up. So does the family find him as funny and as we do?
I'm not sure how to answer that question. We've heard some of the same things many times, and he's got a very active mind, a much more active mind than I do, and so I don't know how to answer that question. You
guys have been married for a long time.
We've been married, and we've heard the stories a lot. We've heard the same stories a lot, but I've always appreciated and admired. The other thing about Ron is that he's very tenacious, and he's if he gets focused on something, he will focus on that until he completes it, as well as outside business dealings, but also working on cars or whatever he does it with a full heart. And I truly respect his ability to be able to get things done. And he does.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And tell a good joke every once in a while, right?
And tell a good joke.
It's funny. My wife, I'll go into a joke, and before I even get to the punchline, she'll go, yeah, you've mentioned that before. And I just put my head down and walk away. It's like we've got our shtick, right? And we just keep repeating it. Yeah.
Probably if we were better wise, we would laugh and act like we never heard it before.
Sure.
But it's as he does to me. He speaks the truth in love. And that's another thing that I appreciate about Ron is that I need to have people, we all need to have people in our life that will speak the truth to us at times in love, and I can count on Ron to do that for me.
Absolutely.
You had mentioned, he supports you in your interests as much as his. What are some of those interests, if you could share? You have some
Yeah, I love working in my garden. I've tore out I've done a lot of landscaping, and so it's all drought tolerant, and so I do not have any lawn in our house, and I've planted plants, and so I spend a lot of time designing for myself plants, and I go and borrow. I'm very sentimental, so I see neighbors' plants that I like, and so I go and ask them if I can have part of their plant to plant in my garden, and it's almost like, so all around me I have neighbors' plants, and I've shared my plants too, so I love doing that. I also work at a rescue mission, And I teach one day a week to ladies that are homeless. It's a mixture of ladies that are homeless and ladies that are in a drug and alcohol program. And they're very real. They're very honest. And it gives me great joy to be able to do that. And grandchildren one day a week. So I have my own things, and he's fully supportive of all that.
And I know you have one other family member in the house, and that's Molly, right?
That's Molly. Our Beagle
Basset. About Molly.
Yeah.
Beagle Basset. Molly is, I walk Molly every single day. And that's the nice thing, too, is that because I'm retired, I get to know people along the way. Everybody knows Molly's name. They don't know my name. they know Molly's name. And Molly she's unique. She's unique looking, and so they're always willing to talk to her. But Molly, and then we have Tabby, our kitty cat, who's
okay. So what's Molly? And Tabby? What are their thoughts on RC cars? They know my dogs. If they just hear the sound, they're ready to go.
Yeah, Finn they're not
the
sure.
Last race. Finn at my last race at my house got down the stairs. I don't know if you saw that, Rye, or if you were outside, but Finn somehow got downstairs and immediately started chasing Nick Siccone's race car.
Oh boy,
flipping it over and trying to carry it upstairs. It was hilarious. So, what are the pets at home? What's their thoughts on RC cars?
Oh, they avoid Ron. they avoid when he's out and about. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you, Rhonda, if you ever get bored and you want to come to Wisconsin, you're more than welcome to come over and do some planting and gardening at my house if you want. I'm just throwing it out there. Yeah. I'll pay for the airline ticket.
Yeah,
you can have a great place
to
stay. So, it's good to have hobbies and so on and so forth. But I think we got to get to some stuff if you're comfortable with it.
Sure.
Ron's terminal, and I think for a lot of us, I have this conversation with Ron often. I said, I'm so angry. And he said, why is that? And it's like, I'm angry because I didn't get to know you earlier in my life. And I've got this short window. And it's hard, but at the same time, I'm grateful for having the opportunity to know him and, to be able to chat with him. And there's so many things that I will remember for the rest of my life. And so I'm okay. I'm at peace. I know Ron is, it's a tough thing to know that someday soon you may lose a friend. And, but in the end, right, we know where he's headed, and I know that I'll get to see him again one day. And actually be able to race against him, or maybe have him be my crew chief. But, I just like to gather, how can I say this? Your thoughts on how Ron's doing. I kind of would like you to provide an update to everyone. If you'd like,
sure.
That's fine. But, I just, I'd rather have that come from you or him, but I'm sure the community's kind of curious out there, because they all do care so much about Ron.
Absolutely. A year ago, as he has shared with you, he's got some significant medical problems. And a year ago, when we heard that really the only option for him was to continue to go into a clinic and have them find veins, which is to be able to administer medication to get fluids off his body that his heart was too weak to get off. It was torture for him. It was torture for him. And when we heard the cardiologist say, that's it, and there's really nothing else that we have for you. I had gone through hospice care with both of my parents. And I just asked him, and we talked about, so if there's truly is, from medical science doesn't have anything else to offer, why are we going to 10 different specialists for them to say, do the same thing you've been doing and continue to take all of this medicine. So all of that to say is that a year ago we went into hospice, and it's been the most, shout out to hospice, it's been the most freeing thing. When you are in Ron's position, it's freeing to say, no, I don't need to be going to doctor's appointments 3 or 4 days a week for them to not give a whole lot of hope. So Ron has kind of started out like this in hospice, and then he has taken dips down. And this is conceptually what I think. He's taken dips. Some of you might know, and I don't think he would mind that. He went through a period of time, about 4 months into hospice, in which he wasn't eating. He was totally not hungry, and he was not eating. And so then we thought, he's going to die tomorrow. He was going to die within weeks. But no, that wasn't so. So he kind of went down a little bit, and then he plateaued. And then there have been several of those points in which he is getting weaker. He's losing muscle mass, and he's slowly he'll go through periods of time in which he sleeps probably 80% of the day and is just exhausted. That's what you'll hear from him. I'm just exhausted. And then I don't know what happens, but he rallies, probably RC cars. Or, I honestly, when he sold his business to Austin, I thought, oh man, this is going to be the end, because that's his baby, and essentially, but much like Ron, so that was kind of, he was sad, but much like Ron, he plateaued again. And if you could see behind me, you can't see a whole lot, but he's still got bunches of stuff all over. So all of, he would lead you to believe that he's not doing this anymore. Now he's just doing it on his own terms, and he's still making cars. And so there have been times in which he needed extra hospital equipment. He's been in a wheelchair. But, he's came to a plateau, and I would say probably on a lower level of functioning, though his jokes and his personality, you wouldn't know it sometimes. So there's a slow decline. And for him, I'm so grateful that he's still got his quick wit. He still enjoys talking. He still enjoys sitting here at his desk, figuring out things and advocating for things and getting on the phone and taking care of issues that need to be taken care of. So, we're going upon a year in hospice. He continues to qualify every single time they reevaluate him for hospice. Things are certainly declining, but, there's great comfort in knowing that God has everything in control. For me, it's a big word, but the sovereignty of God, that God has everything in control, and that we just trust and believe and take advantage of one day at a time, do the best that we can. For me, doing the best I can to support him and taking care of myself at the same time that I'm taking care of him.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Eloquently said. Said. Thanks so much for sharing that. Like Ryan said, they'll bring a lot of comfort to people in the community to know the real story. And Ryan has said this before, and Ron has followed it up, is that behind every great man is a great woman, and now we know why Ron thinks so highly of you. And love will, sure, talking to his buddies about RC cars is going to give him a little prop up and, maybe a little more pep in his step. But having constant love, agape love, right?
Right.
All the time is what's really, really keeping him going. So we thank you for that. You do that because you're his wife and you love him dearly.
Yeah.
But from all of us, we thank you for that.
Yeah, you're helping us too, keep our buddy around.
Thank you. I mean, it's not perfect. Your relationships are not perfect. Our relationship, and I get, he gets, I get, we all get grouchy and irritable. And there certainly has been times, and I don't think I'm speaking out of terms, that Ron has said, I want to go home. I want to go. I don't want to deal with this anymore. And yet the truth of the matter is that, it's obvious. He comes into contact with people. He knows every single one of the FedEx drivers and has conversations with them. He knows that, do you know your mail people? He knows Stephanie, our mail lady, and he knows all of these people that he comes in contact with. And I think that he goes out of his way now to try to share words of hope, and that's significant.
Yep. His work certainly isn't done, and you couldn't have said it any better. And it's funny, when my pastor once told me, when you have disagreements with your wife or your spouse, he said that's called intense fellowship. So that's that's one way to look at it. Yeah. But no, Rhonda, genuinely mean this. You're part of this, whether you care to be or not. Again, Ron has such an impact on all of us, especially at RC Underground Radio, and so many other people. I'll speak on behalf of all of us. I think that we definitely, and we genuinely feel like you're part of us. And if there's anything that you ever need, you're more than welcome to reach out to us. Like I said, it's Ron's just a special person, and I know very much that he is just, he's all about you, and he makes that well known. And so, I wouldn't want him, I wouldn't want him scolding me someday saying, "Hey, Rhonda needed help and you weren't there." So, so I guess long story short is, if there's anything that you ever need from any of us, anybody in this community, you let us know, because we do appreciate you and everything that you do for Ron.
Thank you. And I know that, Ron is a planner, and so it's funny. It isn't funny to maybe a lot of people, but boy, we're all ready for Ron to pass. I mean, we've gone over his celebration of life about 100 times, who he wants to speak. And I know that I don't know whether it's you or who it is, but he definitely wants. So I would call on you sometime, when that time comes, and hopefully you could record something, or we could figure out a way for you all to be able to share with the community that will be at his service, and what you shared with me today, because that's part of his legacy. That's part of who he is as a person.
Well, Rhonda, it's tough. Again, having these moments, right? Again, knowing Ron, a good friend, and his great woman behind him, and having you on our show, it has been such an honor. We're not done with Ron yet. I don't think that the Lord is done with Ron yet here on earth, and Absolutely. He's got a long way to go yet in terms of his mission. So again, we're going to continue. We can hopefully get him on here soon and spend a little bit more time with him on the show, for our listeners and other people in the community. But again, I can't thank you enough for being part of this, being a supporter of Ron and all that he loves to do, and then really just taking the time to share more of what makes Ron so great. So again, honestly, from us at RC Underground Radio and the folks in this crazy little community that we have, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us, Rhonda.
We feel honored, and I know Ron doesn't even know how to express what you all have meant to him. And thank you. Your your audience, thank all of the people. He will say, do you know that there's a race and there's I don't know how many cars, 8 or 10 cars that I have that is racing, and they did well, and it just means so much to him. It's so wonderful that there's a way that he can feel that and kind of be a part of that, and still be in a situation where sometimes he's not able to participate like he wishes.
Yep.
It's wonderful.
Well, again, on behalf of RC Underground Radio, thank you, Rhonda, for joining us. We want to thank all our listeners for listening to this very, very special edition of RC Underground Radio. More fitting, just to hear this story, the deeper and deeper part of this story. I hope everybody's enjoyed it as much as we have been able to share some time here with Rhonda. We want to thank our sponsors, Carpies, and also Papa Willie's. If without their support, we couldn't have great conversations like this, and do things to help the hobby. And when we help the hobby, we're doing it because we've learned this from Ron, right? Mm-hmm. We've learned how to help the hobby. We've learned this show needed a purpose. Ryan and I were at a point where like, what are we doing? Where are we going with this? Is this going anywhere? And then talking with Ron, and that we're like, yeah, this is the purpose. The purpose is to give back to this hobby so it continues to flourish, the way to support all of Ron's efforts that he's put into this. And we've told him this, he motivates us to do this show every week. And so with that, we'll just say again, thank you, Rhonda. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you again next week.
Thank you for listening to the RC Underground Radio Podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and tell your fellow racers about the show. Tune in again next week for more RC content.